Hello everyone, welcome to the presentation. Today I will talk about bold, fast and cheap dispute resolution. So the slides will follow the paper that we wrote together with our colleagues. So this is the list of them. All of us are at Off-Chain Labs. So the slides are a bit outdated because they were prepared last April when the paper was out. So some things changed, but I will let you know what did. So to motivate the talk, we know that Ethereum needs scaling, and so far the most viable solution to that is rollups, and today I will talk about optimistic rollups, but there are other types of rollups also, for example, ZK rollups. So at that point, last year in April, Arbitrum was the only optimistic rollup that had live fraud-proof mechanism, but that changed. Now Optimism chain also has it. So now how the rollup works, users send transactions to a sequencer receives transactions and then passes for an execution. Execution is happening off-chain, so that's where the rollups gain. And when there are enough transactions, then sequencer compresses them and posts a batch, and now it changed to blobs mostly, to the Ethereum main chain. And these transactions are canonical transactions. And then validators update the state on the contract on Ethereum. So one of the validators makes a claim, what is the state? So it posts a hash and then it becomes canonical within a week. So if nobody challenges it, then that's the true state of a rollup, or at least from the contract perspective. So we have a state that's like very similar to Ethereum state. We have a state transition function, so how the transactions modify the state, and this is important that it's deterministic. And then the transactions that are posted on the Ethereum main chain in the governance contract are the canonical transactions that are given as an input to the state transition function. So all validators, if they execute correctly, should reach the same state because it's a deterministic process. Okay, so the protocol, it's still current actually. The bold will go online next month, I believe, but it was already voted positively, so it will be a new protocol. So the current protocol, there is one validator that posts a claim, and any other validator can challenge it, but it's sequential. So the challenge protocol is sequential. And once one interaction is over, then the other game starts. And one of the players will always lose because there cannot be two competing right states. So the winner advances to the next round. And it's done by very simple bisection protocol that I will present now, and this will be useful for bold as well. So the players present their versions of the state, the hashes, and they need to be different, and that's when there is a conflict. And then they present the middle state hashes, and if they are different, then we know that the conflict happened in the first part of the execution, and the game moves in the first half. And if they are the same, then we know that the conflict must be in the second half, so the game moves to the second half, which means that at each iteration, the state size becomes half. And that's great because in logarithmic number of moves, we get to a single step, and the single step can be directly checked on the smart contract. So that's cheap enough, but we cannot do the whole execution on the chain. These ideas were observed long ago in 1997, and very similar paper was also in 2013 published by Canetti, Riva, and Rothblum, and then the original Arbitrum white paper was based on the same idea. Okay, so what's the problem with the current protocol? So there is a delay attack, because now the attacker can introduce n challenges, sacrifice n stakes, and delay the advancing of the state by n weeks, because each game lasts 1 week. Okay, so we don't know that the winner of one game is necessarily the honest party. So we need to let everyone play. That's why current protocol is permissioned. There are 12 to 14, but the numbers can change. Whitelisted validators, and Bold achieves permissionless validation. Okay, so now what are the advantages compared to the current protocol? So now it doesn't matter how much stakes the adversary or adversaries sacrifice. The state will advance in constant time, and I think it's like 2 weeks. And also, the competition is not between different accounts or challengers, but it's between claims, or in our case, it will be execution proofs. But there are some drawbacks also. It requires large stakes from honest parties, but here there is a catch that honest parties can unite their stake, and individual honest party may need to stake actually little amount. But if nobody is helping one honest party, then one honest party needs to stake a lot. And it may require a lot of computational power from an honest party, again, if nobody helps. But we expect that honest parties will share both the stake and the computational power as well. So there is another protocol that was developed after Arbitrum Classic protocol by Cartesi project. So these are the co-authors and co-founders, I think, of the project. So what they are doing is they basically take a classic protocol that I described, sequential, and make a binary tournament tree, which reduces delay to log-n rounds. And that's quite simple improvement, reduces linear delay to logarithmic delay. And they have even more updated work very recently after Bold paper now, where they claim that it's again, I think, asymptotically log-n delay, but they improve factors a lot. But they rely on being able to prove some computation using ZK, and that Bold doesn't rely on. Okay, so we have censorship, and that's actually where this 1 week delay comes from, because honest party needs to interact with the L1 contract. It can be censored by adversary on the base layer, but there is a social consensus that no censorship will last more than 7 days. So that's where the 7-day delay comes from, because from the protocol perspective, there is no need to wait for 7 days. You just need to wait for as many blocks as there are moves in the ideal scenario. So in logarithmic many moves, you would need something like 50 moves, and then that would be 50 block times, which is very short, but there is a censorship. And to analyze Bold, we actually take quite pessimistic view. We assume that adversary can enable censorship mode at any time and disable it. So like censor for 1 day, then turn it off, the censorship, and then censor some other time for a few hours. But what we assume is that in total, it cannot go longer than 1 week. So this large C parameter is 1 week, and the delta parameter is just how long it will take for one transaction to land on the main chain. Okay, so there is one version of Bold, which is not the implementation itself, but it will give you an idea how it works. So in the single level Bold, there is a commitment to an execution. So execution looks like a sequence of moves or state transition steps. And then we take hash of concatenation of commitments of half execution. Okay, so anyone who makes a claim sends a hash of the whole computation, and then so something happens in the protocol, but at each time the L1 contract, so the governance contract or Bolt protocol contract, maintains all ongoing commitments that have not been defeated so far. So that gives a binary tree structure on the computation, these commitments. But what is now here very important, that when the commitment is challenged, then there is only one valid bisection. So you cannot make up what is the middle commitment, because it needs to satisfy this condition, and if the hash function is not invertible, then you can only make one move. And that's very important, because it can be that some malicious party is staked on the correct state, but it cannot make a wrong move. So there is only correct moves that can be made. The commitment can be wrong itself, the full commitment, but move is always needs to be consistent with the commitment, and there is only one move. And whoever makes a move advances the state of that commitment. Okay, so if the commitment is not challenged, it accumulates some score, and then parent commitments. So parent means, so this is the parent commitment of these two children commitments. Also can claim the score of children. Okay, then if we reach again single step, one instruction, then the layer one contract can just check if this step is executed correctly. So when the root commitment score crosses a threshold, so threshold is some suitable function of this delta and C, then it is declared the winner. And all claims that lost, so their root commitment didn't win the game, they lose all the stakes. And then winning claims takers are reimbursed for all their gas fees, and maybe paid some extra from the slashed deposits of losing claims. Okay, so the problem with this approach is that it's too much hashing computation, because there are too many steps in one large claim, the root claim. So it is too slow. That's why it is split into multi-levels. And this is done by grouping the steps into batches and calling them the single step. Okay, and then we do this Merkle commitment on these batches. So when in the single level Bold I was talking about reaching the single step, here we are reaching the batch of single steps, or batch of single steps, because there are 3 levels. Okay, so when this bisection reaches this, that's what I said, the new level starts, but on this new level you can come up with arbitrary number of claims. That's why we need staking on each new level. So we need staking on the root level when you are committing to the whole computation, but also on these new levels. And that becomes a bit complicated, and in the end we reach some kind of optimum that on the very original level we need 3,600, that's about $10 million worth ether stake, and on the next level we need 100 ether, and on the last level we need 10 ether. And that makes sure that adversary is spending a lot if adversary tries to saturate funds of honest parties. And we look at the optimal ratio of how much adversary spends versus how much honest parties spend. But again, pooling can come to help here, because it doesn't matter who brings stake, as long as it's put on the right commitment, anyone can advance that commitment or challenge. And also, we can introduce some rewarding here, because most of the time nothing will happen, but there will be $10 million worth Ether locked. Note that only this amount is locked initially. So if there is no dispute, these amounts are not locked. There is no need to lock them on these levels, new levels. Oh, and reward doesn't change gain dynamics because rewarding will be some small percentage while the adversary is losing $10 million worth Ethers. So that's all from me. Thank you. If you have any questions?